Hello, my name is Naomi K. Padurlanan, a young member of the Rotaract Club of Sun Valley Sunrise and the Deputy District Secretary of District 3830. Now, some of us young people have had the privilege to interview Paul Rivera. Paul Rivera is the CEO and co-founder of Kalibrr, a recruitment technology company. In the past 5 years, Kalibrr has connected 5 million young professionals to more than 18,000 of the most innovative companies in Southeast Asia in search of their next generation of leaders. Kalibrr is headquartered in Makati, Philippines, with offices in San Francisco, California, and Jakarta, Indonesia. Kalibrr is backed by some of the world's most powerful startup incubators and venture capitalists, including Y Combinator, Kickstart Ventures, Wavemaker Partners, and Palomar Capital. Prior to Kalibrr, Paul was the co-founder and president at Open Access BPO. Before starting his companies in the Philippines, Paul was at Google and at an e-commerce startup, Mercantila, in San Francisco. Let's now interview Paul. What was the most unforgettable job you had during the start of your career? And what life lessons did you learn from that experience? What is your advice to millennials in that same position who are in the early stages of their career or facing challenges in their startup?
Most unforgettable job was my first job working at Taco Bell at the age of 15 years old, making tacos, running the front desk cashier, and running the drive-through. Lessons from that experience: I don't want to work in fast food for a long time. It's hard work, right? Much respect to the people that do. And I think more importantly, at Taco Bell, I became the best employee. Regardless of the opportunity that you're given, be the best at it, whether it's a Taco Bell worker, a janitor, software engineer, or business startup or entrepreneur.
We are so inspired by your story. Can you tell us more about your journey from leaving Google in the US to coming to Manila to start Open Access? And what was going through your mind during that time?
I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. After Berkeley, I joined a startup called Mercantila, founded by a couple Harvard guys who were in the e-commerce space. That opened up my world to startups. And I was working on a couple ideas at the time. They both failed. And the idea to start Open Access, came from the experiences I had at Mercantila in Bangalore, India, seeing the growth of the BPO industry there, and seeing the potential of the Philippines. Even though I was working at Google, arguably the best company in the world at the time, arguably still one of the best companies today, it wasn't my company. And so I felt like there was a window of opportunity, once in a lifetime opportunity, to start this BPO in the Philippines just as the Philippine BPO wave was taking off. And I felt that it was a good time to take that risk. And if I failed, it was always going back to Google. So, yeah.
Throughout your entrepreneurial journey, you must have had massive growth shifts in mindset. Can you describe your mindset before starting your companies and what your mindset is like now?
I would say in the beginning, it's very haphazard. You just want to have a business. You want to try to have a company. You don't really know what. You don't really know what problem you're solving. You don't really know much about the market. So the very beginning of the journey in my early 20s was a lot of failure, a lot of disappointment, but also a lot of learning. The first real leap was when I moved to the Philippines to start Open Access and was running my first BPO. I believe I was about 24 years old at the time. And, your mindset then is, you got to make this work. Otherwise, you're going to go back home and get a job, right? Sink or swim. So maybe now I think what's changed is I'm a lot more strategic. I've have had experiences now starting a few companies. Some have worked well, some have not worked so well. And so I think I can pick my angles a little bit more. And I think more importantly, I can choose what problems I want to spend time solving.
For you, how has the job market changed compared to before, and how can job seekers adapt to that change to come out on top?
Yeah, much more challenging now. We had a 10, 15-year run in the Philippines with a great job market. There are some near-term challenges due to COVID, but I expect those to disappear over the next 2 years. I would say the best thing to do to be able to adapt to the change and come out on top is understand what has changed, and what kind of that means for you and what that means for work. The primary thing that has changed is, in addition to the pandemic changing everyone's life, is the influence of technology in everyone's life. It's now needed for business. It's now needed, to get your groceries. So I think job seekers need to be much more fluent with technology. They don't have to necessarily code, but they have to understand how to use it, how to learn it, how to become productive with it. And maybe the second thing is, I think that's different, is the types of jobs that will be created, right? The Philippines has probably been one of the slowest markets to digitize. But now with COVID, and again, this forced digitization, a decade of digitization in like 2 or 3 years, the other way to adapt is to ensure that your skills are the skills that the marketplace values, not just wants, but values. And a lot of those skills are going to be in fast-growing industries such as e-commerce, logistics, and then across the whole function set.
In your opinion, what is the most important characteristic that millennials should adopt in order to succeed in their career? Whether they are already working at their dream job or they are still trying to find their place in the workforce?
I think the most important one is just, there's a few, grit, patience, endurance. Millennials are very impatient. You're the instant generation. Success takes a long time to achieve. So I think you have to be gritty. You're going to experience a lot of failure, a lot of setback. You're going to have to be resilient. You're going to have to be able to bounce back. And I would say the last one is this mindset that regardless of whatever opportunity that you have in front of you, it's what I was saying earlier, you maximize it. You become the best at it, right? No job is beneath me, a CEO. No task should be beneath you as an employee of a company.
What was your purpose for starting Kalibrr, and what were the first challenges and successes you encountered upon starting it?
The purpose was to help people get jobs. First challenges, I think you just mess up a lot when you start a company for the first time. So everything was a challenge, learning how to build a technology company, learning how to build software, learning how to get users onto your software platform. So I think those were some of the immediate challenges. And then successes, people getting jobs. And, to this day, the best feeling is when someone finds out I'm involved in Kalibrr and they say, thank you, I got my job from Kalibrr.
Looking at Kalibrr now, it's a huge success, especially in terms of your growth. What do you think was the biggest component that enabled the company to expand its market rapidly to Indonesia and the US?
Biggest one is it works. We're the best hiring platform for young people, millennials, skilled professionals, the best recruiting platform for the companies that want to hire these types of individuals. In the end, right, I can raise money, I can market, I can do all of these things, but it has to work. And so I think the biggest component is this focus on efficacy and delivering value for the user and ultimately the job seeker. If the job seeker is not happy and successful, nothing else works.
What can you say to our millennial Rotaractors today who want to follow in your footsteps and create an impact as big as yours?
Don't search for the idea. Look for the problem that you care about. develop a PhD level expertise in that problem, so that you can develop new insight, right? Insight is a new idea, right? And then prove that insight as a thesis, as a startup in the market. So that's my formula for finding startup ideas. And if you have that idea and it's in a problem that the world cares about, then you too can make an impact, I think, much larger than Kalibrr has been able to make. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul, for all these enlightening insights on how young and older millennials can forge their paths for a better career. We are truly inspired by your life story and, of course, your vision for Kalibrr. Let's now pause for a few minutes to play this game we are calling How Well Do You Know Rotary's Globability? To be hosted by our very own District Rotaract representative, Mark Rolf Lianto.